WNBA free agency off to a blazing start. We got news coming out of the desert in Phoenix, Arizona. The unicorn, Satou Sabally, will not be returning to the Phoenix Mercury. I told you this new CBA free agency, it is changing the entire landscape.
Free agency has officially exploded in Phoenix. Satou Sabally, the rare 7-footer who moves like a guard and can shoot from anywhere on the floor, is walking away from the Mercury after just one season. No trade, no release. This was her decision. And it's not a quiet exit either. Teams are already lining up, offers ready, checkbooks open. The big question now is how a team that was just one series away from a championship suddenly lost one of its biggest stars.
Will not be returning to Phoenix. Now, I guarantee if the CBA wasn't the way it was and they could afford 3 maxes and could still court a quality team, they would probably be bringing her back. But they can't do it. This here is on Yahoo Sports. Satou Sabally is not expected to re-sign with the Mercury. Sabally should meet with multiple teams once negotiations open up. So Satou Sabally done in Phoenix already. It was a short run. They had a shot in the championship, but it did not work out.
Here's the reality hitting Phoenix right now, and it's about to shake the league. The new CBA changed everything. Teams can't keep 3 max superstars and still build a championship roster anymore. The numbers just don't work. Brittany Griner is locked in, Diana Taurasi still commands a big paycheck, and Kalia Copper is coming off a huge season and ready to get paid. That meant one thing. Someone had to go. And the shocking part? Satou had the power. At 29, she's entering her prime and remains one of the most rare talents in the league. A 7-footer averaging 18 points, 8 rebounds, and shooting 37% from deep. That's not just star talent. That's franchise-level impact.
Real whiny, real complaining. And y'all know Satou want a max. She complained all last season. I want my money. She don't care. She want the bag. Who is going to cough up the dough for Satou Sabally to...
And let's be real about Satou's mindset. She hasn't been quiet about wanting to be paid what she's worth. All last season, she made it clear she felt underpaid and undervalued, and she wasn't afraid to say it publicly. She made one thing obvious. When free agency arrived, she was going to secure everything she believed she deserved. Phoenix saw this coming and had months to solve the financial puzzle, but they couldn't make it work. Now, think about what this means for expansion teams. The Golden State Valkyries are stepping in with a blank slate and a full budget. They need a star, a face of the franchise, someone who brings talent, recognition, and big stage performance. And Satou checks every single box.
Is going to be very, very, very interesting to see. Okay, it's a bunch of free agents out there. I think the Golden State Valkyries could make a big-time push for Satou. I could definitely see the Golden State Valkyries making a push for Satou. I could see Portland, Toronto. I could see these teams making a push to bring in Satou Sabally on a max deal and have her be the #1 option on the team. She's going to have plenty of suitors. And I think she's gonna make a big time splash.
Portland and Toronto are in the same spot. Brand new teams desperate to make a huge first impression. You don't launch a franchise with role players and hope for magic. You need a star who instantly changes the culture. Satou could walk into Golden State and become the #1 option from day one, something she never fully had in Phoenix. But there's risk too. She has a history of pushing for change and being very vocal about her contract. Any team offering a max deal is betting that once she's the centerpiece and gets paid, the noise stops. Phoenix now finds itself in a familiar situation. A star player, 1 season, and gone. That's starting to feel like a pattern.
Skylar Diggins. Now, Skylar Diggins put out something where she wrote a letter to her home state in Indiana and how she's talking about there's nothing like playing basketball in Indiana. Are you trying to make a ploy for the Indiana Fever to come get you. I'm going to be honest. I'm out. I'm all the way out on Skylar Diggins joining Caitlin Clark in the Indiana Fever. I want nothing to do with it. I have watched. I saw what Skylar Diggins was doing. Jewel Lloyd wanted nothing to do with Skylar Diggins, NECA, and the coach up there in Seattle. Jewel Lloyd didn't want nothing to do with them. I got to keep it real. I remember Skylar Diggins arguing a lot in Phoenix when she was with Diana Taurasi and the Mercury and all that. I don't want nothing to do with Skylar Diggins being in.
Now, another huge free agency storyline is heating up. Skylar Diggins Smith just dropped a heartfelt message about Indiana, talking about growing up there, and how basketball feels like a religion back home. The timing feels impossible to ignore. Indiana just had the biggest season in WNBA history thanks to Caitlin Clark. Sold-out arenas, record ratings, massive momentum, and now they're about to have cap space and roster spots. Then, suddenly, a Notre Dame legend and Indiana native publicly shows love to home right as free agency opens. On paper, it sounds perfect. A veteran point guard returning home to mentor a young superstar. A dream storyline. But there's one major problem. Skylar Diggins Smith comes with baggage. Indiana might not be ready to handle right now.
I'm sorry, I'm good. And you're probably going to be expecting the log heavy minutes. We don't need that type of backup. We need somebody that's going to come play 8 to 10 minutes in mind and go on, be quiet, going about their business, be a team player. I don't have time for Skylar Diggins. You know, I think she's a good player. She's a good point guard, but I feel like there's a lot of drama that be following her in this league. And I just don't want to do. I don't want nothing to do with these old guard players. I'm gonna be real. I don't want nothing to do with them. But let's take a look at what Skylar Diggins had to say in this heartfelt message to Indiana. And I kind of want to, this is a certain part I really want to get to, and then I'll play the entire thing. Let's take a look.
Stays with you.
Let's talk about Skylar's track record. Seattle moved on from her after just one season, and before that, there were public tensions in Phoenix that created locker room noise. It's never been about talent. She's still a starting level point guard, but the drama has followed her from team to team, and Indiana simply doesn't need that right now. They already have Caitlin Clark as the face of the franchise and the primary playmaker, Kelsey Mitchell dealing with her own contract situation, and Aaliyah Boston developing into a dominant post presence. Adding another strong personality who expects big minutes and touches could shake the balance. Skylar isn't coming to play a small bench role. She still sees herself as a starter and main ball handler. But after Caitlin Clark's historic rookie season and record-breaking playmaking, the ball is firmly in her hands. The big question becomes, where does Skylar actually fit?
Want to return to play at home in Indiana where they live and die basketball. And I respect that. I understand that. I respect the fact that I watched Skylar Diggins come up. I remember her playing in the All-American game, being a fan of her as a kid at Notre Dame. She was the hottest thing smoking in college basketball, okay?
Here's the deeper layer to this story that makes everything even more intense. Skylar was once one of the biggest stars in all of college basketball at Notre Dame. If NIL deals existed back then, she likely would have been making millions before she ever stepped onto a WNBA court. She had national endorsements, constant media attention, and years where she was one of the most recognizable faces in women's basketball. She lived in the spotlight and carried that pressure early in her career. That kind of status is not easy to let go of. Now fast forward to today, and she's watching Caitlin Clark receive that same level of attention, but multiplied by the power of social media, modern marketing, and the current boom in women's sports. Clark isn't just getting attention. She's getting historic ratings, sold-out arenas, massive endorsement deals, and non-stop media coverage. She's becoming the face of a new era. And whether people want to admit it or not, that creates a complicated emotional and competitive dynamic. It's the new generation stepping into a spotlight the previous generation helped build but never fully benefited from. And when that kind of history, pride, and expectation enters a locker room, the chemistry instantly becomes much more complicated.
No. We already got to deal with old guard Stephanie White. We already got to deal with returner and pushing her messages. We already, it's a lot going on right now. I don't have the capacity. This team doesn't have the capacity to deal with a Skylar Diggins. She's going to want to come home and be treated a certain way. Listen, I just want a role player as a backup. I think Skylar Diggins will be a good get for another team that needs a veteran point guard. She's a legitimate starter. She's no scrub. She can hoop. She's a starting point guard in this league. I don't want to deal with Skylar Diggins on the Indiana Fever. That's just me and my stance.
Here, ball really is life.
Here, ball is life. Listen, man, shout out to Skylar Diggins. Good luck in free agency. I'm out. That's all. I'm not trying to get crazy. I'm just saying I'm out. We got our face of franchise at the point guard position in Caitlin Clark. I don't need other players coming here trying to take the ball out of her hands. We already dealing with a lot with this whole Kelsey Mitchell, Stephanie White dynamic. It's too much. It's too much. I think she'd be a good pickup. Look, Chicago Sky needs somebody. Connecticut Sun probably could use a guard. I don't know. I don't know where you're going to go. I just don't want it around Caitlin Clark. I'm just keeping it all the way real. I don't know. I don't know where you're going to go, but I don't want it to be the Indiana Fever. Get down in the comments and let me know what you guys think.
When you put everything together, it's clear the new CBA is forcing teams into impossible choices. Phoenix couldn't keep 3 max stars, so they committed to Brittany Griner and Kalia Copper, and Satu walked. And this won't be a one-time situation. More teams are about to face the same pressure. Expansion franchises like Golden, State, Portland, and Toronto suddenly have the biggest advantage in the league: cap space, flexibility, and the chance to offer max contracts while promising players the spotlight and a fresh start. For someone like Satu, who wants to be valued and paid like a true star, that opportunity is extremely hard to ignore. But here's the real gamble. Max contracts don't guarantee wins. Building around one star with expansion pieces doesn't automatically create a playoff team. These franchises will likely overpay to create buzz, sell tickets, and make noise, but in a few years they'll have to prove the investment actually works. Indiana's situation is completely different, but just as complicated. They don't need another star. They already have one in Caitlin Clark. What they need are role players who fit the system and understand their place. Skylar Diggins-Smith has always been a lead guard and a vocal leader, and asking her to take a smaller role behind Clark doesn't match her career identity. At 34, her timeline also doesn't align with a young core built for the future. That's why teams like Chicago, Connecticut, or even Dallas could make more sense. The new CBA is doing exactly what it was designed to do: spreading talent across the league and breaking up super teams, but it's also creating chaos and forcing tough decisions everywhere. Free agency isn't predictable anymore, and the expansion teams are about to reshape the league. Now the biggest questions remain. Where does Satu land, and do the Fever risk everything by chasing a feel-good reunion that might not actually fit?